Cabin filters are an often overlooked service item that are relatively easy to replace, relatively cheap to purchase, but can make a pretty big difference to your driving experience of being in the car. Sure, it doesn't affect the engine's performance or your braking or handling characteristics, but it does affect how it smells and feels to be in the car and actually driving it. And if you have a nasty, moldy filter, you're not going to want to be in here for long periods of time, which, of course, if you enjoy driving, you would rather be able to. Now, the panel filter is basically the thing that filters all of the air that your HVAC system pulls in from the outside world, unless of course you have it on recirculation. That acts as the barrier of entry for all of those nasty smells as you're driving by the farm fields or just in general, and all of the little bits of grit and leaves that will inevitably get sucked in. This can get incredibly dirty, and like I said, it's an often overlooked service item. Many people think to change the engine air filter and spark plugs and oil, but don't think to change one of these. So doing it's normally pretty simple. It can vary depending on which car you have, where your filter is. On a lot of BMWs, it is a part of the sort of windshield cowling under the bonnet, so you lift up the bonnet and it's one of the sort of bulges that you can normally just clip off. Some other cars have it still in the engine bay, but in a sealed box that's essentially tucked under the windshield. But in, at least from my experience, the vast majority of cars have them in the passenger side footwell. In my old Volvo, it was kind of buried right at the back of the center console, sort of behind the radio, so you had to take the glove box out. But in this 2013 Audi S4, and by extension any of the B8 or B8.5 A4s, all you have to do is remove 3 thumb screws, then you can remove the sort of styrofoam padding, and then you're at the airbox, or the cabin airbox. You do have to slide the sort of filter cover off, and in my case mine got pretty brittle, and when I slid it off, the clips that sort of hold it on at the side basically exploded. So I probably will need to replace that in the not too distant future, but it's working fine. Either way, when you slide it off, the filter will drop down, you can pull it out and stick the new one back in. Now the filter, like I said, gets pretty nasty, full of little rock chips and little bits of leaves and just general nasty grizz. Have a look at the difference between the brilliant white of the new filter and the nasty grey of the old one. And I should mention that this isn't the worst I've ever seen. In fact, my Volvo's one, I'm very certain wasn't changed basically for 10 years, and it was nasty. So when I finally got to it, it was a pretty big change. Like I said, swapping out your filter is relatively easy for the most part. It can vary, like I said, car to car, but the filters in general tend to be pretty cheap. I think this one with a discount was under £10, and especially if you're already having nasty smells come through more often than you'd like, switching this out is, like I said, relatively easy and relatively inexpensive, and something that you should be able to do at home without many or potentially any tools like me. So you've seen how easy it is to do. Now I highly recommend you go and do it yourself. This is potentially going to be a bit of a series of relatively easy things that you can do while working on your car, things like changing the cabin filter, even things like changing your windscreen wipers and a few other bits and pieces. So if you're interested in seeing more videos like this one, or more general how-tos and hopefully some reviews coming up in the not too distant future as well, then feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell notification icon. I post videos every week, so do stay tuned. There's also plenty of other videos on the NCars you can check out as well if you want to keep watching. And otherwise, that's pretty much it. If you have any suggestions or any sort of stories of changing your own filters, because I know some can be a pain, feel free to let me know in those comments down below. And otherwise, thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.